Hey guys, on today's episode of 2717, we're going to talk about all things marriage. We're not holding back. Stay tuned. Welcome to 2717. I am Wade Hagler, and I have the most special guest I could ever have on this planet, and I'm dead serious. It is no other than the love of my life, my best friend, Miss Princesa Hagler.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast, boo.
I know. Finally, right?
Yeah. How you feeling? You nervous?
Yeah.
You tripping out a little bit?
No, I'm just a little nervous. But yeah. It's all good.
Awesome. All right. Well, so on today's podcast, we're going to talk about marriage and all of the things about marriage. So I looked up actually the top 5 most sought out topics for married couples. And number 1 was communication. Number 2 was finances. Number 3 was intimacy and sex. Number 4 was, you see how I lowered my voice for that one? Number 4 is parenting and family dynamics. And number 5 was long-term goals and life vision. So, and this is going to be a 2-part series. We're going to talk about some other stuff on next week's podcast. Maybe empty nester, maybe, I'm not sure. But we're going to talk about some stuff, some other things. So stay tuned because this is a 2-part series. So, first of all, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
We celebrated 30 years yesterday.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! And so if we're going to be very vulnerable, I guess I'll just talk about it.
Okay.
So 30 years we've been married, Talon. And we've had our ups and downs. And as Princesa says, there's been, several times that we almost did not make it.
Yes.
And we've been in a really good place, man. We went through a really tough season. And we can talk about that maybe in the years to come. I don't know if we're ready to talk about exactly what we went through, but anyway, it was definitely all me. But we've been really doing well, even though we've been in a burning season, going through a lot. We're in a really good place. So last night was actually our 30th, and we'd already kind of celebrated it about 3 weeks ago. But so last night we go to a beautiful dinner. Everything was awesome. Dear friends of ours, the Dyers, bought us a $250 bottle of wine. It was like set up to be a great night.
Yeah.
And my wife looked smoking hot like she always does. And it's our 30th anniversary. Well, then here comes automatic negative thoughts. And what was supposed to be the most amazing night last night was actually not so great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah.
But it ended.
Great.
It ended great.
Yeah.
It ended, well, I won't say.
We got it together.
We got it together. I said it off camera and Talon was like, whoa, too much information. But we got it together.
We did.
Got it together.
We got it together.
It's not always how you start, but how you finish.
Yes.
Right? And so we're just being real. We're just
Yeah.
being real, Sometimes you're going to have those moments where you kind of get into your pain a little bit. And
Yes.
and you get in this little vicious cycle, but when you just stop and pause and pray and reflect and come back together and get back into what God's promises are for you, and then you can start to kind of come out of that and overcome it.
And it's doesn't always go that smoothly.
No.
Like that is what we do, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's as smooth as it sounded just now, and sometimes it's hard getting there as long as you get there, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it
Last
takes
night was a little
longer.
rough getting there, but we did get there.
Last night was a little rough
Yeah.
getting there, but we did.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about communication. How to talk without fighting. How do we do that? What do you think? How do we talk without fighting?
Staying in your peace,
Okay.
which the pain and peace cycle is, a lot of people are not familiar with.
Yeah.
But life-changing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I think staying in your peace or getting in your peace before you need to have some conversation,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you've been saying is like listening to understand and not to respond.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think timing, and it's on here. So feeling heard and understood, our tones, the timing and openness, texting versus face-to-face dynamics. I mean, how many nights have we been upset with each other and we sat there and text all these paragraphs back and forth?
But sometimes I feel like that gives us an opportunity to process, because I feel like journaling, like when you're writing it down or typing it out.
Yeah.
Then sometimes things are revealed to you, and you might change your mind about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, you also don't know the tone when you're texting.
True.
So it can be good or bad.
It can be good or bad. So how do you overcome that? How do you get to the end result that you're trying to get to, right? Because what it says here is poor communication is one of the most cited causes of relationship breakdowns. Couples often want to improve how they share feelings, needs, and concerns.
Yeah, I think it's constant work for sure.
Yeah, I think that's key what you just said. It is constant work.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we've been married 30 years, been together for 31 and a half years, and we've raised 2 amazing kids. We have several businesses together. We do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we do.
And so, I think last night I told you, I mean, we're just going to get a little bit vulnerable. And, I mean, I was kind of scared.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There
a lot
is.
of stuff going on in our life. And and I just said, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why I wasn't able to be a safer place for you whenever you were having, your moment where you were upset. And I wasn't able to be, more solid for you.
Well, I think, too, last night I realized, like, you and I have had so much teaching and counseling over the 30 years. And it's like, you think, we're going to have it together. But, you're still going to go through times where I didn't even realize that I had been living in my pain.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I literally just talked about it with a friend yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Still not even in that moment realizing that I was living in it. But I think it's just because, we've had so much in the last couple of years, and
well, and you don't like change.
And I know the pain and peace cycle, but I just, I mean, that's how subtle it can be, where you end up in a place you didn't mean to be in.
Yeah.
It's a subtle thing, and the enemy is subtle. It's like, he's not blatant,
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, sometimes he is, but
sometimes he is,
not.
but
Yeah.
sometimes he isn't.
Yeah.
And, you can be, mean well and try to use wisdom and still end up, like I said, I was living in my pain and didn't even realize it. Thank God. So, and a lot of times, like last night, we say, that wasn't fun, especially on our 30th anniversary, for that to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But usually that's when it's bad, that is whenever, as long as you, turned your heart towards God and want to do the right thing and not quit.
Yeah.
Drop
your pride too.
Yeah, you can figure it all out, like we did.
Yeah.
We figured out, I figured out I was in my pain, and you figured out that, what you figured out, that you were scared, and, but maybe if that wouldn't have happened, we would have just been cruising
just
in
kept going
those
in
things.
that
Yeah.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I had a question here for the both of you, how do you, so for those who aren't familiar with the pain and peace cycle, if you could explain that real quick, and how you go from pain to peace, what the process is.
I think you should explain it. You're good at that.
So the pain, everybody has pain from something whenever they come into marriage or, relationship. But most people, we didn't forever, for the majority of our marriage, even realize, that we had pain before you even meet each other. You have it. Yeah. And so you bring it in, and like I said, most people don't even know that they have it or what it is. And so you figure out what it is, and it could be pain from some trauma in your childhood, or something someone said to you, or, it could be from a teacher, past relationship, parents, anything. And so what happens is, I'll use myself as an example. Like mine was, I grew up an only child, and I had a really traumatic childhood. So mine was feeling alone or feeling unloved. And the truth of those are both lies. Like, I am loved, and I am never alone. Like, God is always with me, and I have people, And so, but you don't even realize that you're believing those lies. Or like, one of mine is out of control, and I feel like with everything that's been happening in our life the last couple of years,
A lot of change and out of
yes,
control.
that I was feeling out of control and not even realizing it. And so what happens when you're in your pain is you use bad coping. Like, it could be, like, for me, sometimes it could be, being mean, or
Claws come out.
yeah, like, I'm not very nice. I'm a little snippy. And or some people, it could be shutting down, it could be escaping, it could be, there's lots of ways, negative ways people cope.
Yeah.
But whenever you realize, so I think to fix it is, what I always explain is, if you start acting funky, like, you got to stop and think, why am I acting like this? Why am I being mean? Why am I wanting to build walls or shut down? Okay, what am I feeling? And that's what I had to do last night, was like, well, I'm feeling out of control, like, that things are not okay, not stable, and what's the truth? Everything's going to be okay. God's got it, and so then my coping will change to, staying connected and not escaping and not being mean, and staying, being nice. Like, it's just the opposite of what your negative coping is when you get into your peace, then you'll automatically act right.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like in marriage, if both people, like, I believe in marriage counseling, like going together to counseling sometimes, but ultimately I think you need both. I think that people need to figure out what their pain is, because we all have it, deal with it, and then when you come together in relationship, then, it doesn't fix everything, but it fixes a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, the caveat for that was truth, though. Like,
Yes.
that was what changed it from
Yes.
pain to peace.
Because all these things that you're telling yourself, or that the enemy's telling you, or that something that's been planted in you, that makes you act negatively, are lies.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, like, I am loved. So feeling unloved is a total lie.
Yeah.
Feeling alone is a total lie, and that things aren't going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
It
God
is.
always takes care of me,
Yeah.
and things are always eventually okay.
Yeah. And I think
He's got it.
So one of the big things for you also is change. And you've
Yeah.
got some big changes.
Because when I
happening.
was, because I needed things to be predictable, because my childhood was so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
For things to be the same all the time, and, just be predictable, I think.
Yeah.
But, I have to overcome that. I can't just say, well, you know what, like, I'm just going to live my life, and every time there's change, I just don't like change.
Yeah.
I just don't do well with change. Like, no, I need to get in my peace.
Yeah.
And because life, you're going to have changes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be so many things out of your control,
Yeah.
so you got to deal with it.
I like it. All right. So the next subject is finances. So budgeting, spending habits, debt, savings, financial goals, financial roles, right? Who plays what, and the transparency and trust of money. So what's wild to me is I know a lot of people that have separate accounts. I think that is so not healthy. Like, they literally have separate accounts. Like, this is my money, this is your money. And we're talking about married people. If that works for you, great. I'm not trying to dog you out, but where's the transparency and the trust and the communication, right? I just don't understand that. I don't comprehend why people do that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that, babe?
I mean, I've had a couple of friends. I'm trying to remember what the reasons were.
I
Because
think
that's
it's
a red
control.
flag to me too. And
I think
then
it's control.
And then they give me
personally.
reasons, but I mean, ultimately, I feel like there should be a trust. I mean, or like, if it's somebody's a spender and the other one's not, like,
Yeah.
like, you got to figure that out though. Like,
I mean, I guess I could understand, like, hey, we're on all the accounts together, but
Yes.
hey, because one's better with money than the other. Hey, this is your spending money.
Yeah.
Right? I can understand
As long
that.
as I think, like you said, like your both names are on, but then
Yeah.
you just kind of designate like.
Yeah, but the ones where the other spouse doesn't have a clue what's in the accounts or where the accounts are at or anything like that,
Yeah.
that is not good, guys.
No.
That is a horrible red flag.
Yeah.
You both need to know what's going on. Now, one of the spouses might not care, but they just want to know, right? Like, I just want to see it. I just want to know. Okay, good. I'm good. I don't really care about anything else. I
Yeah.
don't want to know anything else, right? But I think just being transparent and open about that, then the enemy doesn't have a place to come in and spread lies to you, right? About your spouse
Yes.
and about why they're doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
And they definitely like need to get on the same page with
You
all
have
of
to
this,
be,
the budgeting and spending habits, debt, savings, financial goals.
Well, we used
like
to.
they need to get on the same page.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we used to have a lot of fights because I would maybe go buy something and I didn't tell her about it. Remember?
I don't know.
Not a lot, but I did.
Yeah,
I bought
feel
a pair
like
of
we've
binoculars.
always been really good about communicating about finances.
We have, but I have done it
A couple times,
Just
I
as a
would say.
guy,
Yeah.
I'm like, with my buddies, and we were back. This is back when I used to hunt a lot, and I bought these binoculars, and they were like $600, and we were doing good. So it wasn't like it was a financial burden, but I didn't tell her. And I just remember you being like, "Why didn't you tell me? Like that's a big purchase." And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I just did it.
Yeah.
But I think having communication, and what is that? Well, you don't need to tell me every time you spend $100, but if you're spending more than that, then yeah, I would like to know, right?
Yeah.
And that's different for every couple, but
Yes.
would you not say that's probably a healthy thing to do, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think, communication about everything. I mean, you and I communicate about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not perfect in it.
No.
There's always room for improvement, but
Yeah.
I like that we talk about everything.
Yeah.
Like, what's your day today?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then deeper things like the finances.
Exactly. Well, and then debt and savings, financial goals. I mean, those are huge as a couple. You got to know those things, right? A woman's number one need is security.
Yes.
Right? In all areas of life.
Right.
So when we're talking about, building a strong marriage, well, then there needs to be some communication about the financial goals.
Yeah.
And what debt we actually have,
Mhm.
right? And when we're making those financial decisions, I do know there's a lot of guys out there that they just are very controlling, and they're not going to ask their wife about any business decision. They're just going to go do it. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think not that your spouse has to be just as educated in you in whatever business it is, but if you're saved, you've got Holy Spirit, and you have discernment. And you should be warring together and praying together about the things that you do in your finances.
1,000%.
Because
it's going to affect both of you.
As a guy, we're like gung-ho. We're like, hey, I'm going to go do this. And you've got a blind spot and you don't see it.
Right.
You've made your mind up because you're just making it happen. And your spouse is like, man, I don't have peace about this at all.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever had a situation like that?
Yeah.
That you could tell
yeah,
about?
Yeah. Well, when we were buying the buildings, there were times you didn't have peace about some of the buildings we were looking at, and I was kind of trying to make it work. Right? That's happened. It's happened in a few different things.
Yeah.
But whenever that happens, I have to get neutral, and I have to stop thinking like, no, I've already figured this out. Right? I've got to back off and say, okay, then we need to pray about it.
Right, because there could be a reason that we don't see yet.
Well, and the building was, we were trying to buy a building down the street, and it actually burnt down. So, thank God
That's
we
what I
didn't
mean.
buy that building.
Yeah.
And
That's why you pray
and
about
she didn't
it.
like it. She didn't have peace about it. And, we were still investigating it. And thank goodness, we didn't get that. And I did get on board with her. And I was like, no, I'm backing out. Like, I don't like this either. But having your spouse pray together with you about the things in life that you're doing financially is huge.
Well, yes, because
huge.
it's going to affect both of you, good or bad. It's
That's
going to
right.
affect both of you.
That's right.
So,
That's right. Okay. And then the financial roles. Like, listen, I'm in the business every day, and Princesa is in doing a lot of things. Our kids are gone now, so we're empty nesters. But before that, obviously, she was a mom. She was 24/7 doing everything, for the family. And every time we opened a business, she would come alongside and she would help design it and help, oversee construction with me and all those things. So she played a very significant role in those areas. But as far as the day-to-day business operations, that's not her thing, but she does handle the finances. So early on, she was doing, paying all the bills, which she still pays all the bills. Did you do payroll too? Mm-hmm. You did payroll too, also, when we first started.
I'm corporate office. They say.
Yeah, basically corporate
break.
office. Yeah. So
we need a new refrigerator.
Yeah. And same with with the bank accounts. Like she does all the balancing and all that. I don't like it, So I'm great with that. I love that she does that.
Yeah.
So again, not being controlling, but letting each spouse activate their gifts and talents is huge.
Yes.
Because how much more does she want our family to be blessed? Of course. She wants our family to be blessed, right?
Yes.
She wants everything to be blessed. So absolutely, we need to trust each other in those areas. And so I think we've already touched base on the transparency and trust around money. And I don't even know that we need to talk about it, but don't hide money, right? I mean, why would you hide money from your spouse?
Yeah.
Like, that's just weird.
It's not going to be good whenever
what
you figure it out. Yeah.
Like, don't hide money.
Yeah.
If you're hiding money because the other person's going to spend it, well, then just have that conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
You have to figure it out and get in a healthy place with the finances.
Yeah.
So out of the both
page.
of you, there's different money languages, right?
Yeah.
Who's the spender? Who's the saver?
We are both like, I feel like we're the same.
Yeah,
I know if we
agree.
started out the same, but we've
agree.
never really
I've always been a
this
saver.
hasn't been an issue in our marriage.
No,
the money
it hasn't. I've always been a saver.
Which
I think
he's
makes
always
her
got
feel
a
safe.
stash.
I've always
It's
got a
cute.
stash.
Like, it doesn't matter how many bank accounts, he's always got a stash at home. It's the cutest thing. I think it's cute.
So, but I just grew up that way, right?
Yeah.
I just grew up, we grew up pretty poor. And so I'm like, always wanted to save.
Yeah.
And so, but I like to buy things.
Yes.
And,
I think we have a healthy
we've been blessed.
balance.
And I bought her a Cadillac one time, Escalade, which was her dream car. And she looks at it, she goes, no.
I was like, I can't drive that.
I'm so deflated.
He was like, not the response I wanted. I'm like, but it was a big deal to us. Like,
yeah,
it was the first luxury car
the first luxury
we'd ever
bought.
Yeah.
And so it just was overwhelming for her.
Yes.
So she was just like,
I was very appreciative, but I was like, is this okay?
She's
Is this
still
okay?
that way. She still won't pull the trigger on really nice things.
Yeah. I have very expensive taste.
She has insane expensive taste.
I always say it's a curse, and Wade's like, it is not a curse.
It's a blessing. I mean, look at everything we have. It's beautiful because of you and your eye and your flavor for
thank you. But sometimes I'm like, wish I just had a little less expensive taste.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what'd you ask us? I'm off. I forget what we were just talking about.
I know.
What were we just talking about? The money language. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we both.
We like nice things, but we don't go around like...
Yeah, not one of us is more spending than the other.
Yeah.
Not one of us is freaking out, tightwad, clenched. And so, and I'm going to say this because this isn't on here. Tithe and give.
Yep.
You and your spouse have to get on the same page of tithing and giving.
Yes.
And that is, we talked about it last night, like it is such a blessing to be able to give because you're hearing God whenever you give, And whenever God drops it in your heart to do something, and honestly, if she hears to give, I'm super pumped and excited because I'm like, yes, God is speaking to us.
Yes.
And he wants to bless somebody, and then I know in return he blesses us, in all kinds of different ways. And so when he knows that we're obedient to him, right, we get to honor him with our tithes, but then the giving is something that's even more special.
I would say it's one of the biggest joys in my life.
Yeah.
I always tell Wade, I don't want the big house, or if I can't, just give whenever God prompts me to give.
Yeah.
Or, whenever I just want to give.
That was the thing when we built this house, because it is a big house.
Yeah.
That we're like, we don't want our lifestyle to change, meaning giving, tithing, giving. Like, if that changes, we're selling everything.
Yeah.
Because it's just that's not God, And that's our heart. It's so fun to be able to watch and hear God and give and be obedient to that. And sometimes it stretches us. Sometimes it's a big number and we're just like, okay, God, I don't know, how we're going to do this.
It's all His anyway.
But it's all yours anyway.
Yeah, I can't take it with us.
So I'm going to obey you.
Yeah.
So how early on did y'all start tithing
I think the first
Well, I
time
got
we
saved
gave,
when I was like, so we got married at 25. I was almost 25, is that right? And
Yeah.
then
24.
I got saved when I was like 28, 29. And shortly after that, because we were being discipled and I learned about tithing. And yeah, and we didn't have anything back then. So it was on.
It was a big deal.
And so God was showing up, though, because
Yeah.
it was totally sacrificial. And
So we started tithing probably maybe a year or so after we got saved. We started really tithing.
So most of our
before
marriage,
we
I
would
would
just
say,
kind of give like $10-20 here and there, because we just excuse me, we just didn't really understand it, trust it. It was a big step. And then we finally started doing it. And I remember we did an event where we raised money at our shop, and we cut hair and gave the proceeds to the church for something. And that's whenever I really started getting on fire for giving. And what's crazy is we were partners with Tony and Guy at that time, and they called us one day, and this was after we'd been tithing and giving, and we were broke as a joke, making 60. Well, I say broke as a joke, making probably 60,000, but we were owners of a freaking business, and I was making about 60, maybe not, I can't remember, but that was for
I don't
all, that was for the
remember
whole
what
family,
year you're
right?
talking about, but
So anyway, we were living, basically paycheck to paycheck, and Tony Guy calls me up, and we had a debt of about $350,000, and they're like, "Listen, we're going to forgive. I think it was like $175,000 of your debt because we had got the loan through them." I mean,
stuff like that was happening
that's
all the
unheard of,
time
man.
when we started.
Stuff like
tithing.
that just kept happening,
Yes.
kept happening as we tithed and gave.
Yes.
Like it was crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
And we give. God's word talks about giving. Don't do it publicly. Don't boast about it.
Yeah.
So what we do is definitely behind the scenes, and we're not going to talk about it. But we've been blessed to be able to hear God and obey God, and He is so good about constantly providing for us.
Yes.
More than we could ever imagine.
Yes.
More than we could ever imagine. We both grew up very poor.
Yeah.
And not with a lot of things. And the life that we get to live is spectacular.
Yes.
Like it is over the top spectacular compared to how we grew up. So he's a great God. You can trust Him in your finances. Intimacy and sex. Number 3. Okay, why is this important? Well, a strong intimate bond often reflects the health of the overall relationship. Couples want to feel desired and connected. So going back to that pain and peace cycle that we talked about earlier. So I grew up feeling undesired. So undesired means nobody wants me. I don't feel desired. So anytime my wife would not flirt with me or touch me, because one of my love languages is touch, and of course if she ever turned me down for sex, I just feel like the biggest loser in the world, right? So I would possibly go into my coping, which was all negative attributes, and then that would make her feel unsafe.
It's a vicious cycle.
Because I would maybe shut down a little bit, and then all of a sudden she's feeling, in her pain cycle of unloved and abandoned.
Yeah.
And, so it's like this vicious cycle, right? So you've got to figure that out. But I mean, thank goodness I've got a smoking hot wife. I am very attracted to you, and we have a great sex life. We've always had a really good sex life.
Yeah.
But in those moments, you can still be in your pain and feel unwanted or unloved. So listen, most guys are going to be more sexually active than their wife. That's just the normal guys' testosterone levels, all these things. It's just probably their number 2 need, right? Honor's their number 1. Number 2 need is sex, correct?
Yeah.
So it is important that you work on that. And there was a gentleman that taught me this right before we got married. He said, women are like crock pots. You got to put the ingredients in all day long. You're just putting those ingredients in, and it's a slow cook. And then when it's ready, oh man, it's so good and amazing. He said, men, microwaves. You're worn out. You've been digging ditches all day long. You're thrashed. You come home, you can't hardly move. Your whole body hurts. And your wife walks by and is like, gives you that look. Or maybe she has on that 90 that you just know. You pop up out of there and you're ready to go, man. Right? Yeah. You're like a microwave. In seconds, you're ready. Yeah. So you've got to understand that we're different, right?
Yes.
And one thing that you never really understood is a lot of women look at...
I was about to say that.
Yeah, you say it.
Go ahead.
No, I love the way you say it.
Well, I just wish I would have known this way before. It's okay. But like a lot of women think that they don't realize that having sex with their husband makes their husband feel closer to them.
Absolutely.
They just, a lot of women think it's just the act of sex and not realizing that it's actually making him feel closer to you.
Yeah.
So I loved that when I learned that, because it was like,
Yeah.
I just could see it in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Not that I didn't feel close to you or feel like you felt close to me before,
Sure.
but it did change some things.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a truth, and that men, listen, it is a very intimate thing and a very nurturing thing, and that's why it's our number 2 need, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a release. I mean,
right.
It's literally a very connecting, intimate thing, and so I think whenever your spouse understands that, it becomes more special, right?
Yes.
But emotional connection. Changing needs over time, physical affection outside of sex. So let's talk about when you have kids, right? Because some people are like, well, we don't have time. Well, give me a break, man. You
make
can,
time.
You like that baby's
You got to
gotta
go in the
swing.
closet.
Put that baby in the swing, right? I mean,
yeah.
You can make time for this, and you've got to stay connected.
Or like I have a friend, she would just meet her husband at home at lunch when the kids were at school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we called ours, was it Make Out Monday?
Well, it's a joke, yeah. I forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, since we've been empty nesters, we don't have our days
we
anymore.
We call it Throw Down Thursday.
Yes. Freaky Friday. No, I'm just
Freaky
playing.
Friday.
I'm kidding. Was that what it was?
I think so.
Remember one of our friends, he was like adding to it. It was like a joke, like every day of the week we had something.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's hilarious.
So, and the frequency of sex is different for everybody. Some people are completely great with, once or twice a week. Some people, are going to be more active.
I don't think that you should go a long time. Like I was telling you the other day, I was like, even if because we're getting older, even if if a lot of stressful things in life are happening and you're older, I still think you've got to be intentional. Like don't go, I don't think it's healthy to go a really long time.
No, I don't either.
And I don't know.
And that could be different for everybody. For us, a long time is, 5 days, 4 days, something like that.
Right.
That's a long time.
But
for
I
us.
mean, we know people that go months or years.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And
think
I
that's
just don't
healthy at
think
all.
that's
no. But no, Talon's going nope.
Yeah, I don't think that's healthy.
Well, the older you get, it is a little less.
Yeah.
Your men's testosterone drops a little. Before I'm like every day. Well, I'm 54 years old, so it's just not as strong of an urge, right, to be with my wife. And so, and sometimes that could make her feel like, well, hey, what's going on? Why are you not wanting to be with me every day?
Doesn't happen very often, but for us.
For us.
Yeah.
But still, it's good to know that, hey, there's nothing wrong. I'm just that my
that
levels
seriously
are just
is
lower.
is an important thing to talk about at our age. Is it changes, and it doesn't mean that there's
That's right.
But talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it. And, sex is such a beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing. And it is something that you should talk about. It's something you shouldn't be ashamed of. And it's okay to show some affection, right, publicly. And I know there's some affection that's a little over the top. That's not what I'm talking about. But, one thing, remember Sylvia's parents, remember what they would do? They'd throw candy out in the yard.
When her and her sister were little?
Yeah, Sylvia always tells the story of her parents. That they
She's so funny.
They would get a ton of candy, like little candies, and just throw them all over the yard.
And
then
while
the
they were
kids
out
would run
there,
out there getting all the candy, and they'd go inside and
be together,
have their time. So there's all kinds of ways you can get creative, right? And as our kids got older, I simply just said, hey, we're having date night. You don't want to come in this room.
Yeah, when they were in high school.
Too much.
Well, because they're in high school, and it's they're not going to go to bed at 8:00.
Yeah, they're not going to bed early. So I'm just like,
so
hey,
you
guys.
you just figure it out. So it's unless someone's dying, do not come in this room.
Yeah, they're smart. They know. And it gives, and then they just stay away, right?
Talon's taking notes. I'm like, take notes.
Hey, I got to the point where I told my kids, I was like, hey, Mom and I need a time alone. Y'all need to go stay the night somewhere.
And it's healthy for our kids to know that.
So it wasn't like they were 10 and I'm like, hey, go stay with somebody, I mean, they're in high school and I'm like, hey, seriously, we need to connect.
Yeah.
This is my wife and we need to connect and
it's good for them to know that.
They got to see that. So you got to date, you got to have that.
Well, before we jump into family, because I know that once we get y'all talking, we can go for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
I think this is a good stopping point before we jump into the whole family dynamic.
Okay. All right. Where are we at? Okay. All right. There we go. Got it. Okay. So this is a 2-part series. So we're gonna pick back up into parenting, family dynamics, long-term goals and vision, and maybe a little bit about empty nester. And that'll be part 2. So, babe, you did good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun. I like being able to. I mean,
I'm just
I love
talking
Merritt.
with my best friend.
Merritt's
So
awesome, but you are so good to look at. So, all right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you like it, please share it. And stay tuned. Next week, it's going to be part 2. See you guys.